Video podcasting is one of the smartest ways to create content because when you turn on a camera, it gives you the ability to create micro pieces of content for social media. And since the launch of our video podcast, Think Marketing, we've been able to test out different gear to make these podcasts happen. So in this video, I'll be breaking down our camera gear that we use, and be sure to stay around to the end because I'm gonna share some tips on when you're filming a video podcast. And so keep it locked, let's get into it.
You gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up? It's Omar Takoy with Think Media, helping you build your influence with online video. And on this channel, sometimes we do YouTube strategy videos as well as video equipment setups just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Recently, we took a trip to San Diego for Social Media Marketing World, and this is a conference for social networking, but also online video. And Sean had the intention to link up with some of the experts in our field and get them on either our podcast, Think Marketing, but as well as video influencers. And I'm gonna break down the camera gear we use to capture these podcasts, but here's an example of how it sounded and looked like.
Second tip is the lead magnet kind of tip, but what are some ideas around
let's talk about that.
Around best practices around lead magnets? And plus, you help so many of your students and your community, maybe even some cool lead magnet ideas in different formats that could maybe trigger what we could be giving away free as entrepreneurs.
Sure, I got a bunch.
Pretty sweet. Now I'll be sure to put the links to all the gear we mentioned in this video, as well as some alternatives if you want to save money. Now there are some things that we wanted to make sure of when putting together this setup for our podcast, and one of them was portability and the other is reliability. And some of the features we were even looking for was potentially no record limit in 4K, the ability to shoot in 4K, and not having a hard time overheating or anything like that. A few other features we wanted to make sure of was just great autofocus and just a camera that would allow us to just set it and forget it, not have to worry about anything once a recording took place. Now, before I get into the gear that we use, I want to point your attention to the audio version of this video where I break down the mic we use and the recorder we use and things like that. I'll put a link to that video in the YouTube card and in the description below. But the camera body we use is the Sony a6600. And then as far as the lens go, we used either the 16mm or the 24-70 G Master lens. And for this, we wanted to capture, like I was saying, 4K reliably with no overheating issues and no record limit to just set it and forget it. And so we like 4K because during an interview, we can crop in by editing a 1080 project, and essentially gives you 2 additional angles. So you have your wide angle with both talents, and then you could zoom into each person and then export a 1080 project and not lose any resolution. This tip actually keeps your viewers engaged throughout a long video, but it's awesome because you're just using one camera to essentially get 3 angles. And you can actually do this and speed up your workflow in post. I made a video on how I edit a video podcast. I'll put a link to that in the description. The Sony a6600 also has great autofocus in video. It actually has eye autofocus, so it's really great if you're shooting yourself and you have nobody working the camera. You can really trust the fact that it's getting your eye in focus during a video shoot. What's also great is the battery life on this camera. They actually use the new Sony battery, and so overall, we use this camera for a ton of the YouTube videos we're creating here on Think Media now, just because it's light, it's portable, and it just shoots great video. As far as the lenses go, some interviews were shot on a Sigma 16mm 1.4 lens, which Sean used kind of before I arrived. It's a prime lens and it's kind of like a medium wide shot, so it's just nice to put not too far away from you so nobody can come and run and get your camera, but it's also gets a wide picture, so capturing both people and still giving you the ability to crop in post if need be. The next lens was the 24-70 G Master, which looks better because you can get a really nice compression in your shot. You can put the camera far away and zoom in all the way at 50 to 70 and get you that blurry background. However, I wouldn't recommend this lens for this camera because there's other cheaper alternatives. It's just a lens I personally own, so I just brought it. I'd suggest you look into the Sony 16-55 2.8. It's kind of like the crop sensor version of the G Master. Or you can get the Tamron 17-28 2.8, another affordable option when it comes to a great zoom lens for your camera. Investing in a zoom lens is great for versatility. It just gives you the ability to choose your shot on the fly, whereas a prime lens, you're gonna have to move the camera yourself and you can't really zoom. That's the difference between a prime and a zoom lens. The issue is, although the zoom lenses give you versatility, they are higher in price and you can get great looking video out of a prime lens. You just have to keep that in mind when you're making that investment. Now the backpack I use is a Peak Design 30L backpack. I've had this backpack for around 2 years and it's awesome. I love it so much. I was looking for a camera bag that essentially didn't look like a camera bag, and I think they nailed it with this design. But I think your ability to access from different sides of the bag is great, and so that's the backpack we use. As far as the tripod we use, we love the K&F tripod. We have a video on this tripod. I'll put a link to that in the YouTube description as well. It's about an $80 tripod, but packs up really small, and then I strap it onto my backpack, which is cool. Another thing to think about is the ND filter. I didn't really use lights in this situation because we wanted to make it super nimble, and so I just use natural window lights. Sony's do a good job at capturing low light situations, but definitely want to think about an ND filter because when you want to maintain that blurry background but keep your settings dialed, depending on the lens you use, you want to invest in ND filter, kind of like sunglasses for your lens. And so an ND filter is also another thing we use. I mentioned earlier, getting an extra battery, having them both fully charged for the day so that if we have a really long day of shoots, I can then not have to stop and we can keep going because I have a fresh battery on deck. And then lastly, I would say is your SD card. And because this does shoot 4K with no record limit, we definitely want a fast SD card, but also a big SD card. So we use this 256 gigabyte card from SanDisk. And again, all links in the description below if you want to check out any of the gear that I mentioned in this video. But when getting a camera like this, you definitely want to invest in a good SD card because it can actually steal your thunder if you're like mid-shoot and you're running out of space, or you're having to always offload your footage because your cards aren't big enough. So look into investing in fast and big SD cards for 4K cameras like this. Now I got some tips I want to share in just a moment about how to get better looking footage for your video podcast. But if you're getting value in this video, smash the like button for me. And question of the day is, what camera are you using to create your video content? Let me know in the comment section below. And again, the audio version of this setup, like the mic and the recorder, I'll put a link to that video in the YouTube card and in the description. Make sure you check that one out. But altogether, this setup served us super well, being super nimble, but also recording great quality for audio and video. Now the 3 tips I have for you when shooting interview setups like the way we do. Number 1 is your location, and you want to select a location that has consistent lighting, preferably a shaded location. I don't like shooting in harsh sunlight. Not only is that uncomfortable for the talent, but it's also it's pleasing the eye when you're shooting in a shaded area because the lighting is just a little bit more consistent. So if there's ever scattered lighting, try to find an area that has just a lot of shade and consistent lighting. So using a big window is great, especially if the sun's in a position that it's just bringing in light into a room, but not necessarily beaming light into the room. So that's something to keep in mind, and you can save on lighting by just simply getting a good spot that is shaded and consistent in lighting. Tip number 2 is spacing. Now, if you like the workflow where you shoot one shot and you turn it into 3 different angles, it's really important that you have your interviewer and interviewee, or just your talents, kind of separated because when you zoom in on one face, you don't want the other person's face to be cut off in that shot off to the side. So you can, obviously do this by creating some space. And a good rule of thumb is just using the rule of thirds. So if you have your your tic tac box, you just put them, your people, a little outside of those vertical lines in your shot. And then tip number 3 is checking out our videos on the Sony a6400 and a6600 so you can learn the settings, go really deep with this camera, and get the best looking video out of it. So I'll put a link to those videos in the description below, and if you want to see the audio travel podcast setup, you can click or tap the screen where I break down all the gear we use. And then we also have a video podcasting series that'll help you if you're starting a new podcast or video podcast. Click or tap the screen, and I can't wait to see you in a future video. Peace.